the trouble was entirely of my own making. Half an hour ago, I was at Hotel de Boer for a drinks reception. It was to celebrate the successful opening of a show, but it was draining my energy. So, I waited for the right moment. Probably because I'm playing the lead role in the show? Is that so surprising? I'm always getting invitations to do solo performances. I just usually We took all the kids from the House of the Hearth out to see a film, and after it finished, they all started clamoring for me to try out acting for some reason. Anyway, it just so happened that a director called Mary who had sent me an invitation right around then. I'll spare you the details, but basically, I ended up Yep, you nailed it. I'm playing the role of a puppet. In fact, the show's called The Lost Puppet, and it's a masked mime show. So, I don't have to do any facial expressions or say any lines. Literally just a series of physical movements. The director says it's a very avant-garde art form. Art is not comprehended by the mind, but felt in the heart. At least, that's what the director says. Anyway, if nothing else, the opening performance seemed to go down well. At the drinks reception, everyone was crowding around me, saying, "Triumphant character portrayal, faithful adaptation of the original work, unequivocally, quintessentially avant-garde." But being the center of attention is draining. So the moment they left me to go harass the director instead, The other thing is, some weird things happened while... Oh, sorry, Bonnie. I didn't... No, we just met. We bumped into each other. Well, it'd be kind of difficult for us to communicate otherwise. Yeah, that's right. Good kitty. We'll go find you. Nope. She's wearing a collar, and for the most part, she's pretty... Her stomach's been growling a lot. I guess she must have been missing for a few days now. As much as I'd love to hang out with... But the reception... I should probably show my face there again at some point. Even if... Well... I just find it exhausting. Thinking through all the different ramifications of different choices and so on. That's more Lenny's area than mine. So, unless it's something really important, I usually just leave the decision-making to him. It's fine. He got Feminade to make me a little something for just this situation. Poof! A phaetometer. It looks pretty over the top, I know, but it's essentially just a box of cards. The way it works is, I pick a card at random, then look at the... Well, for example, if the number on the card is 5, I just have to believe in the bond between me and my cards, and my fate will reveal itself to me in numerical form. At least, that's what Lenny said. Anyway... Huh, I didn't like that. Was I using it wrong? Clearly, there's some design flaws to iron out. Let's see... 4. Well, the cards fell on the ground though. If you want to get the right answer, you have to let fate decide. So, to put it another way, if picking a card up off the ground is how to not leave it to fate, then that means it must be the wrong answer. Or... Why don't you pick a card? Since I ran into you... Thank you. Here, take the phaetometer. If it's 5 or above, that means fate... Also, if you have your own thoughts about what I should do, feel free to share it. Now that I've got a good problem solver here to help, I don't need to run every little thing. So, we're looking for I think I'll go to the Steambird and see about putting an ad in the paper.
useless.
Every stupendous day starts with a steambird. Oh, hi Lynette. Hi Traveler. What can I help you with? I don't think so. Have you?
Yep. If there's no commission to follow up on...
Why, of course. What a kind...
Well, we've registered you as missing. You can stay at my place. Also, I just wanted to say thanks for keeping us company for so long. Well, I should probably head back to the drinks reception. If you've got some time, you should stop by my place tomorrow to see Bonnie. There's a nice cup of tea in it for you. Alright, see you then.
Damned would sooner die again than lay a hand on me. Boring! Here!
I believe this cat belongs to...
I already told you, this isn't your cat.
Just take a breather, you two. Oh, you're here. As you can probably see...
This is my friend's cat. He's preoccupied with some...
No, it's far more likely this cat escaped from the Humane Society. Bonnie?
That's the name I've given her in the meantime. Well, this complicates things.
I told you before.
Listen, I'm the director of the Humane Society, okay? We've got so many strays, dogs, cats, you name it. She just looked somewhat familiar, so if she turns out to be one of ours, I'll take her back. Simple as that. Even if that's not the case, the Humane Society could... we're an organization that specializes in rescuing and sheltering stray animals. We've been in business for several...
The Humane Society. Huh. The name sounds...
Yes, that's the one. Anyway, if it turns out I really am mistaken, I suppose that means the cat...
It belongs to my friend.
Go on, Bud.
Oh, nope. Looks like I was mistaken. They do look similar, but there's an well, I suppose this means I still have a missing cat to search for.
Wait a second. You lied earlier,
Lied?
A liar always has a tell. The look in their eyes, their breathing pattern, the way they hold themselves. The things that can give you away are often more numerous than you would...
What are you talking about? The way I see it, you're conflating baseless conjecture with...
Normally, when someone is called out, their breathing speeds up as they begin to panic. But your breathing pattern hasn't changed one bit. In fact, it's been strangely... If you're a bad guy, I'm sure you'll take off running the first chance you get. If you're a good guy, The most likely explanation is that you're a
And you're basing this off of?
intuition. Nothing more.
Intuition. You're right. I'm a member of the Guards. The name's Elodie. I'm currently investigating a cross-border smuggling case. This can't... A couple of days ago, our suspect got wind that we were on his tail and fled. I just so happened to stumble upon your notice in the Steambird. So, I decided to see if he'd come back for her. The impact of this case has been huge. The Marechaussee Phantom, the Guards, and the Special Patrol have all launched investigations. If there was even the slightest chance that he would show himself a new kind of illegal drug, imitation synth, we confiscated all the synth on the market. But addiction isn't something that goes away overnight. Even without substances on the market, and criminals are all too eager to capitalize on that addiction. That was the impetus for imitation synth. After the original synth debacle, we put several measures into place to prevent similar incidents from occurring. The perpetrators got smart, though, and shifted their sales overseas before those measures could kick in. We only recently got word of the presence of imitation synth overseas. We managed to track down evidence of some early transactions. What we were able to find out, however, hasn't proven that useful given the amount of time that... The Marechaussee Phantom launched an investigation to track down every person in Fontaine capable of producing a drug like that. He's a researcher at the Fontaine Research Institute.
Lefebvre.
The Marechaussee Phantom found him in Poisson. In addition to the cat, he also had a pendant. At first, there wasn't much cause for suspicion. A search of his house didn't reveal much to go. It was only later that we realized the coat of arms on his pendant belonged to none other than the Lefebvre family. One of the most infamous aristocratic families, and obviously, this discovery prompted a further investigation into Pierre. At that point, however, we discovered that he'd already fled.
That's not possible, actually. The Lefebvre family has been gone for a long time.
Exactly. Many years ago, several important members of the family, including the patriarch, were murdered by an assassin of unknown origin. From that point on, the family is engaged in all manner of crimes. As you can imagine, there's no shortage of people waiting in the wings to take their revenge. And with the family severely weakened, they were able to do just that. Most of the remaining family members succumbed to sickness or hunger. The ones that survived are currently living out their days under a new identity. Pierre is one of those very survivors. He's been hiding away in the Fontaine Research Institute all these years. Well, my fellow guards have told me all about how smart and courageous you both are. There could be a chance that Pierre, or one of his accomplices, might attempt to get close to Bonnie. Now that you've been briefed on the situation, if I take Bonnie back to the guards with me, there's no way Pierre will try and come for her. I have to admit, I'm not holding out too much hope that Pierre will come back for her. But if there's even the slightest... Well, I've got some other leads to follow up on. If Pierre does appear...
It's nothing. It's just... the head of the Lefebvre family. He was the eminent person who kidnapped me all those years ago. It was at a dinner party. Someone tricked me into boarding the Lefebvre family carriage. Whoever it was, they took me back to their home. But before anything worse could happen, Father intervened. Yep. Father was the one who orchestrated the fall of the Lefebvre family. After all these years. Don't worry about me. I wasn't feeling... He's been acting strange recently. He avoids me for days on end, consumes thinking about it now. It's almost like the one I drew from that deck of cards was part of his plan all along. He must have asked for an... It's very possible. I'm sure he tried to send me away because he was afraid it would bring up some painful memories for me. Even after all these years, you'll have to help me teach him a lesson if we run into him along the... Yep. I want to head to the Fontaine Research Institute to learn more information about Pierre. Just let me activate search mode, and then we'll head out. A little bit of both, perhaps. For the most part, though, I just have the sense that something's not right. Something isn't adding up. Okay, I'll write a letter explaining everything to the crew. Once that's...
Useless.
Ad Astra Abyssosque. Welcome. Thank. Ad Astra.
Useless.
Lynette, you're...
You can drop the act, brother. In fact, I don't think either of us will have a need for acting anytime soon. You should know better than to try and keep something from me.
And that's why I tried to distract you with the mask.
Care to introduce us to your new assistant?
This is Officer Shovras, captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol.
Nice to see you. I should clarify something. Mr. Linney's here at my invitation, not the other way around. To borrow your expression, Miss Lynette, we've brought on Mr. Linney as a consultant in the past. He was instrumental in helping us crack a case involving a perpetrator who used magic tricks to commit crimes.
So...
That's exactly why we're here. There's always been questions surrounding the fall of the Lefebvre family. Some people even believe the House of the... Whoever was behind it all was extremely cautious. They didn't leave a shred of evidence. I took a look at the entrance and exit records of all the carriages that night. Let's just say it wasn't hard to deduce that there's ill will. Don't worry, I don't have any evidence to that effect, and I certainly don't plan on going to bat for such a despicable family. Plus, you were victims back then more than anything. I sought Mr. Linney's help with the smuggling case. Nothing more. The way I look at it, it's a collaboration between us as people, not the organizations we represent. Besides, by working together, we can expose the truth as quickly as possible. You can hardly say, not at all. I was planning to invite you from the very beginning, Miss Lynette. It's just that my assistant here raised some objections.
Linny, I'm not the same person I was back. That little girl who did nothing but cower in the corner in fear. She doesn't need saving anymore.
I'm sorry, Lynette. You're right. I let my concerns get the better of me.
Oh, and the next time you want to distract me, You should try a different approach.
Who's this? You pick up a
It's a bit complicated. I'll explain later.
Well, if there are no objections, then I suppose the only thing left to say is... Lynette, Traveler, welcome to the team.
It appears the Lefebvre family was very particular in their use of insignias. The family would use different emblems to mark differences in status, blood relation, and the like. In fact, the insignia that was discovered on the pendant was used to represent...
It's highly likely. That very status might have been what allowed him to emerge from the fall of his family relatively unscathed. It would also explain why he was able to assume a new identity as a researcher with relative ease.
We discovered something interesting, though. After talking to some of his co-workers, it appears he pretty much works at the Institute in name only.
Apparently, Pierre was once addicted to synth. He tried to use the resources at the Institute to create a substance with a similar effect. He claimed it was just for research purposes, but the Institute revoked his access to the relevant materials regardless. He was placed on disciplinary leave, pending a thorough investigation of his actions. But it seems the Institute ran into some trouble along the way. Could have been a lack of personnel or a timing issue. In any case, they had to table their formal investigation into Pierre. Unfortunately, that also included reporting any relevant information to the higher authorities. As for his family background, it appears none of his co-workers at the Institute were aware of that information. All they could tell us was that he was quite the recluse. Other than the pendant, we didn't find anything else of note at his residence in Poisson. Based on the samples of imitation synth we've been able to analyze, it appears the substance leaves behind strong traces wherever it's produced or stored. Those traces might not be obvious to the casual observer, but they're not something our guard poodles would miss. Pierre's home, though, came up completely We didn't find any records indicating possible involvement in overseas transactions either. So, the Marechaussee Phantom didn't view him as a major...
Maybe he had a...
Well, his neighbors did say he was often gone for long stretches of time. You would think with him out and about so much, people would have spotted him around Poisson. But if his reclusive nature was just a matter of keeping a low profile, I guess it would make sense for him to have a secret...
After he disappeared, the guards conducted a thorough search of Poisson, but they didn't come across any
Poisson. You know Hotel de Boer, where I first found Bonnie? To get there from Poisson, you have to cross a stretch of ocean. It's not somewhere a cat could just wander off.
A cat?
Bonnie is Pierre's cat.
Oh, that's right! When the Marechaussee Phantom first tracked him...
From what we've learned about Pierre's habits, he doesn't seem like the type to venture out without a purpose. So what you're saying, Lynette, is that...
Exactly. Bonnie...
Wait. You think the cat can lead us there? But she's not trained like one of our guard poodle.
Meow. Meow meow. Near the coast, the beach...
Well, I've certainly never taken a witness statement like this before.
Well, if it works out, maybe it's something worth getting used to.
Cats and humans are actually pretty alike. When it comes to communication, most of what we want to convey can be accomplished through body language alone. Of course, body language has its limitations.
The important thing is that we now have a lead.
Those memories. So dark. Useless.
Seems like Bonnie is trying to take... Gardenex ahead.
Look out!
Freeze.
Hey there!
Useless.
I must leave no stone un...
Dodge this.
Coming at ya!
Wow, Lynette, you found this place so easily. If I thought there was any chance you'd say yes, I'd recruit you into the Special Patrol here and now. No questions asked.
Sounds familiar. I pretty much receive letters daily from people trying to poach.
Let's just focus on our...
Aha! Just as we thought. This is where the imitation synth with... Looks like he's got more than just imitation synths stashed around here. In addition to the raw materials these cleaning agents are likely used to dispel the Special Patrol did some digging into imitation synth. Our records indicate that it's very difficult for ordinary people to detect traces left behind by the stuff. It must have taken a considerable amount of time and skill to but what are these other drugs?
The material these bags are made of. It's the very same, actually. Romaritime flower fiber. But there's something special about the composition of these bags. I took a closer look, and even the strings look specially designed to keep the bags I came across some bags made of the same material just now, but they were much smaller and thinner. From the look of them, they seemed far less durable as well. Very similar, actually. Normally, it would be easy for a guard poodle to sniff out the imitation synth, but if it was sealed away in a bag... But what could these big bags be for, then? If the goal is to keep...
When the Marechaussee Phantom searched Pierre's house, there was no sign of these barrels, right? You're right. Only the lower halves of the barrels appear to have been submerged.
Based on the various ingredients we've found, this appears to be where it looks like he used a special cleaning agent to get rid of any residual traces of the substance on his person before he left. That's how he was able to get past the...
So then he transferred the imitation synth into small sealed bags.
No. I don't believe our suspect is the kind of person who'd go around carrying incriminating evidence. The cleaning agent and the sealed bags might get past the guard poodles. But if a member of the public or even a guard on patrol happened to see him during the drop-off, a quick search would reveal everything. That's still a
The barrels we found were wet around the base, but the top half was... If you put a barrel in the water, it will normally float on its side. Unless...
Yes. With flotation rings around the body of the barrels, they'd stay upright in the water.
You think he used floating barrels? I suppose if he acted at night, when there are very few other boats around...
But then, wouldn't the barrels be carried off by the waves or the currents? How would the person doing the pickup know where to look?
Traveler, can you come take a dip in the sea with me? I have a feeling...
Cool it!
The wreckage of a small boat? This isn't the place. This isn't the place. Got it. Time to go up and report.
Useless.
As expected, we found a few pieces of rope and some anchoring stones underwater. If you attach them to a float... With this anchoring system, it would be possible to use floating barrels for the drop-off. We also came across the wreckage of a small boat. It must have been left out on the water and capsized due to the force of the wind and waves. Its small size, however...
Let's talk this through. Based on the evidence we've collected, it seems like Pierre would row a small boat out to the agreed-upon transfer point, drop off the barrels, leave, and then row back and retrieve them after the transfer was complete.
It could be that he was trying to avoid meeting up with his associate face-to-face. As one of the sole survivors...
It seems like Pierre deliberately chose the floating barrel method so that the goods could be dropped off and picked up at separate times. That way, the two parties wouldn't have to meet each other.
Well, if that's the case, they must not have a very close working relationship.
Let's not jump to any conclusions just yet. Assumptions can be detrimental to solving a case. It's possible they were just trying to keep a low profile. Two boats sailing to the same location. The most important thing is that we can now confirm Pierre wasn't acting alone. The floating barrel... Let's say for now that he was only in charge of producing the imitation synth.
Since we've determined that the goods were transported by boat, maybe we can track...
We can certainly check the various ports for that information. Absolutely. Before Pierre disappeared, we made sure to investigate all sorts of outward bound... Unfortunately, we were never able to find out how they managed to get the imitation synth across the board. You're right. Whatever vessel was used for the pickup, the person responsible for smuggling the substance out of Fontaine would have had to use a larger vessel for the actual transport. They must have found a way to disguise the imitation synth to clear port inspections. Exactly. We can't let any opportunities slip through the cracks. Although...
I'll run home and ask some of my brothers and sisters to...
I should also head back and update my platoon on our progress. I'll grab some reinforcements while I'm at it. Lynette? Traveler? What?
All right. Come on, Bonnie. You...
ready.
You called? For it!
Oh, Lynette, Traveler. And Bonnie, too.
Did something happen?
Oh. I see. I'm in charge of guarding the port. You mentioned you were after some travelogues, right?
Looks like I've got another hard day of work ahead of me. No, not usually. It's this incident that happened recently. Before that, everything was normal. All we had to do was confiscate any... But things are much more complicated now. We somehow let suspicious cargo pass through the port undetected. Not even our guard poodles were able to sniff it out. Even worse, we still don't know how the perpetrator...
By suspicious cargo, do you mean?
Yep. However, prohibited substances are just one example. We confiscate all sorts of contraband during the course of our inspections. Or at least...
So what happens to the goods you...
Oh, we keep them in a storage locker. If they turn out to be something particularly dubious, if the goods are only slightly suspicious but could otherwise be harmless, like raw materials that could potentially be used to create contraband, we return them to the ship they were confiscated from, instead of letting them pass through the port.
Sorry for the wait.
Oh, you
Actually, he followed me here himself. Huh. I wonder why Gerard is reacting to you two so strongly.
Huh? We were so careful not to touch it, but we still ended up with traces on us. If it leaves a residue...
Why don't you have a look at the travel logs first? I'll...
Their name is all over the exit logs.
The director of the organization explained that, actually. He said a lot of the cat and dog breeds unique to Fontaine are also very popular overseas.
Bernard, the director of the Humane Society... Have you figured it out too, Traveler? The way the criminal... When Bernard asked to take a closer look at Bonnie, he was actually checking whether there was any imitation... The sealed bags we found at the secret base. They were specially made to... There were gaps around the lids of the barrels, and airbags were used to keep them upright in the water. Those drug shivers found at the secret base. She most likely didn't recognize them because they're not used on human beings. It's an anesthetic Pierre must have made the animals swallow the sealed bags full of imitation synth at his secret base. Then he stuffed them into floating barrels and left...
The sealed bags combined with an animal's body odor would certainly be enough to mask the scent.
During our inspections, we would have never thought to inspect the bellies of those animals for anything suspicious. Even if we tried to feel around for some...
Exactly. I bet Bernard even transported animals with synth in their stomach alongside ones without. That way, it would be even harder to say with... she's probably in the clear. Otherwise, Bernard would have never left without her. I'm guessing he didn't know whether Pierre had already hidden the next batch of imitation. Just imagine. He sees the notice we put in the Steambird, and it turns out that one of the very cats he gave to Pierre for the smuggling operation is out in the open. If Pierre had already hidden the next batch of imitation synth, then Bonnie would practically be living...
So, That's why he came to find you and insisted on taking a closer look.
Wait a second, I'm a little lost here. I get the part about hiding the substance in the pets, but if you've got something as convenient as a floating barrel, why not just stuff it with the imitation synth directly? Why not wait?
In order to make sure the animals could swallow the sealed bags, they made them extremely thin. Had they not done that, the animals would have likely bitten or chewed through them. That step would have required a lot of energy, as well as a certain amount of technical expertise. So, we've already proven how easy it is to pick up trace amounts of imitation synth. So I'm sure Bernard was...
Okay. Then, let's head to the Humane Society right away and bring that guy to justice.
Sorry, but I can't go with you. Surely you'll be able to handle him,
The headquarters of the Humane Society should be somewhere around here.
Ah, here are the people from earlier.
After him! We can't let him get away! Give it up, Bernard.
Mercy. Have mercy.
The Humane Society has done so much good over the years.
Look, I didn't have a choice, okay? My father cared about those blasted animals so much, he didn't bother to take care of his human wife.
No one asked. Tell me.
Well, after I took over the Humane Society, it gradually became harder and It's said that I could stand to get a large sum of money as long as I helped them to transport some animals abroad. It was only after a few but then Pierre wrote to me, saying that we were already partners in crime. I would order wooden barrels and flotation devices according to his instructions, and then load the sleeping animals onto a boat. Once I sailed to the location he provided, I would dump everything together, and a few days after that, I'd come by again in my boat and pick up the animals sleeping in the barrels. Once I had received enough of them, that guy Pierre, he was running the entire show. Look, I don't know, okay? I've never...
And when did he send his
just last night, he said that the Marechaussee Phantom is now after him, so he's planning to go into hiding for some time. He didn't mention where...
It's been a few days since Pierre's last appearance. I'd wager that he sent that letter after...
I burned them. It was on his orders. I had to burn every...
Sure sounds like you're trying to use the lack of witnesses or evidence to...
No, I swear...
Well, we can check the truth of your statements at the Opera House. I hope you know what'll be coming for you if I were to...
I know, I swear...
My thanks to you both. Had it not...
Bonnie helped.
That's true. And it looks like she's grown quite fond of you two as well. Now behave.
Ow, that hurt. Ow!
Is there something else you need from me, Traveler?
Huh?
I see.
Hey, what are you talking about?
Because he has been kept in the dark all along. And I assume it's the same with Pierre. That never quite added up for me. Why did Pierre feel compelled to return to his home with Bonnie and the pendant, and make them so easy to find for the Marechaussee Phantom? these things are in stark contrast to his usual meticulous and vigilant behavior. There's only one reasonable he probably received the following instructions right before the Phantom came knocking on his door. Unbeknownst to him, however...
What?
If you focus only on Bernard's testimony, it's easy to believe that only Bernard and Pierre were working together. The case appeared extreme...
Wait. But that doesn't make any sense.
Yep, which is why the third person... Once they had instructed Pierre to expose himself, the third person wrote to Pierre again, suggesting that everything had been taken care of, and he should take Bonnie and safely return to... Of course, Pierre's disappearance at such a sensitive time immediately made him a prime suspect. All the third person would have to do from that point on would be to lead the Phantom to investigate the Humane Society, and get Bernard to confess the truth.
Wait, so you're saying that...
Is that what happened?
Chevra said that assumptions can be detrimental to solving a case. Someone among us, however, has been feeding us all kinds of... They suggested that Pierre's disappearance was an attempt to escape the judgment of the law. But if the disappearance is truly just a cover-up for a murder, then couldn't the true sign have been an illegitimate daughter, rather than an illegitimate...
Huh?
Haven't you taken this joke a bit too far? You're right.
You deliberately fed us lies, but even you could not control every last detail of your plan. Getting the Marechaussee Phantom to notice Pierre was only the first part of your plan. Had they failed to take notice, and you couldn't predict what they might possibly find, if given enough time. This, of course, as someone accustomed to acting from behind the scenes, you didn't want to take the risk of personally proposing a raid on the Humane Society. So, you thought about pulling a few more strings, so all the suspicion would point... Once the Phantom expanded their search, it would only be a matter of time before they found Pierre's base. If a cat last seen with the suspect turned up dead, it wouldn't be long until the Phantom would figure out exactly how she had been mistreated, and turn their eyes towards the one organization that has been sent. It was probably during your ambush of Pierre. You didn't even have the time... Still, you soon found another opportunity. Before long, Bonnie had made... Like Bernard, you desperately wanted to confirm the contents of her stomach, so you hurried to find us. Unlike Bernard, however, you were hoping that Pierre did have the... While investigating the suspect's cat, we unexpectedly discovered that the suspect has been smuggling imitation synth using living animals as intermediaries. That was your plan, in any case. With that, Bonnie had managed to escape before Pierre was able to stuff her full of imitation synth. That part of your plan could no longer be carried out. But as shrewd as you were, you manipulated the Traveler and I to help you identify Bernard as a key suspect. You used the Lefebvre name as bait to get us to join your investigation. With 2 extra bodies around, the Special Patrol is sure...
So, what you're saying is... I went...
Of course, you did far more than that. Just now at Lumiduce Harbor, were you... You even highlighted the Society's activities during your compilation of the logs, so they'd be immediately visible to... Moreover, the logs contained no records of the Port Authority's activities.
And what are you trying to say?
I am insinuating that you had plenty of opportunities to transfer the raw materials for imitation synth from the harbor to a boat, and then sail over to the meeting place full of floating barrels. And that's how neither the trafficker nor the manufacturer knew there was a third person who supplied the raw materials, and surreptitiously operated between them. Pierre manufactured imitation synth using the raw material. Having received the green light from you as Pierre, Bernard then retrieved his animals and shipped them out of Fontaine once he had received enough for a full batch. This is the truth behind your smuggling ring.
I can't believe it. I never...
So what do you think she's going to say next?
Ever thought about a career in...
It appears that it's quite easy to predict what you'll think or say. Then if we... You know very well that this case will not end until Pierre is found. so you will have him commit suicide. That way, you can also pin the blame for the overseas smuggling activities, the theft of the harbor's confiscated raw materials, but you still want it to appear as if he had sent that last letter to Bernard, so you have to make sure he cannot be found until after Bernard. To do that, you either will hide his body until you found an appropriate time to set up a fake suicide scene, or the location would ideally allow you to keep the body hidden for some time while also letting you keep an eye on it. There are only so many options to hide a person's time of death after all. As long as the Phantom investigates each of the possibilities, especially since, as the prime suspect who will now be taken into custody, you will no longer have the time to move him or set up a fake suit.
How absurd. And on what grounds will you order my arrest? Don't think for a second.
Elodie left as the captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol. I hereby declare you as a suspect in the case.
That's right. We received a message from Lumiduce Harbor that you were going to investigate the Humane Society.
While at the harbor, we noticed something else extremely interesting. Apparently, you often used and if one were to match the times of your shifts to the activities of the Humane Society and those of certain foreign ships...
Yes, I'm sure you have already thought of a dozen different ways to explain away the suspicious activities, but as...
Don't worry. If it turns out that the guards are still unable to find any evidence after all this, Lynette and I...
Although judging by her reaction, I assume no follow-up.
The Lefebvres were infamous for using disguise and infiltration to achieve their goals. Who would have thought that they would have planted someone within...
Judging from the timeline, they likely arranged for you to enter the guards before the fall of the clan. But they probably didn't expect you to...
Not only that, but you actively participated in the interrogation, arrest, and judgment of the Lefebvres during their fall. You brutally and cruelly abandoned your allies as soon as they outlived their usefulness. Just like a lizard cutting off its own tail in order to live. You...
So...
What was? They were worthless scum. All of them. Not just Bernard and Pierre. I lost all my chances of a normal life just because I was born into their lot. Not only that, but because I had to live in constant fear of them while they were alive. And even once they were gone, I had to continue to bury... Do you know anything about what I've been through over all these years? My life as the last Lefebvre?
I don't, and neither do I care.
Yeah, let me just finish this cutscene first.
Elodie.
Alright, bro.
You're the
That's enough. Keep your hands where I can see them and do not resist arrest.
You know what's
If
funny?
you have more to say,
So-
save it for the inter...
I've finally reached the point where I literally only have the hangout events and no longer any story quests. Thing is, I still have one more besides the one that was most recently released, and that's Yoimiya's. I can't do hers until I finish one of the Sumeru world quests that someone said it took them an entire year to finish. So I don't think I'm ever going to bother with Yoimiya's story quest, to be perfectly honest.
What a joke. What a joke! Hey! Don't...
What's that?
Since when did this shit fucking turn into Dungeons and Dragons with all these perception checks? God damn.
Know what this is? Whether they're cats, dogs, or just unlucky human. Surely, you bunch of goody two-shoes won't let that happen, right?
Which should I choose? assist in deceiving, launch a sneak attack, try to convince, or intimidate. 1, 2, 3, or 4.
All the above. 2.
Stealth, okay. Current check on sword here. Person making it easier to pass checks, so I need to get higher than 15. A 6. Okay, so I failed it. Fuck.
Did she think I was Not good. She's trying to escape. We need to end this.
You seriously think Gardamex can stop the fucking president of Spina di Rizzula? Or the captain of, or cavalry captain, or fucking a Yaksha? Fucking one of the Adepti.
Cool it.
Watch out!
Fucking failed still.
Good.
Phew. So I was right after all. This is it. Look,
Guess that's probably why she
Yeah, I'm
suddenly
in a friend
flipped and
zone.
knocked out Bernard.
well, given that she never even showed her face to Bernard and Pierre, I had my
I've
doubts
been
that
doing
she'd have gone
Lynette's
to the society
hangout
in
event for
person.
almost
Thank
an
you for your
hour
help,
now.
everyone.
Goddamn.
I'll take them back for thorough questioning and find someone better.
If statements are all you need, I still need to go back and explain some things to the crew. I also had an appointment. Ah, so you do remember. Once I'm done talking with the troop, I'll make a nice...
Please just let me be finished with this shit. God damn. It was like a solid 45 minutes of cutscenes straight.
Useless.
And then me having to teleport to the other side of Fontaine. You know what? Yeah.